Okay, I'm on a little side project with working on my 2014 KX250. So this head is pretty good. There's only one problem with it, and that is when I put this cam cap on and get it all lined up and I torque all these bolts down to specification, I can't turn the cams by hand. Like, these are stuck in here. So I'm gonna try and fix that. I know I'm gonna get a lot of people down in the comments saying not to do this and this isn't a fix, so I don't recommend anybody do this on their own. This is kind of just an experiment for me. So I'm going to try to find a way to get these cams to be able to spin freely and also not have any play up and down in them. I don't really know how I'm going to do it yet. I'm still trying to make a plan for that, but the only other fix I know of is buying a completely new head, which is like $530. So instead of doing that, I'm gonna see if I can get this head to be usable, and then I'm gonna see how many hours this head will last with me riding it. And if I get 2 hours out of it and it locks up, then I just go get a new head. If I get 10 hours out of it or 60 hours out of it, I don't know. But I'm gonna make an attempt at saving this. Worst case Ontario, something major fails here and blow the entire bike up, break this head completely, and break the piston in the cylinder. But I'm gonna give it a go, see what I can figure out, and try to save this if it's possible. So with the cam out, I'm going to take a knife and just round off these edges ever so slightly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to kind of just try to make these a little round, just in case, like, I'm more worried about over here, just in case these corners are too sharp or something and it's pinching onto the cam, not allowing the cam to spin when it's torqued down. So all I'm doing is taking my knife and just slightly shaving the edges off, just like that. You can see how I just took a little bit of metal out of here, and that just makes it more round. Like right here, it's real sharp. I can feel where this edge is really sharp coming around with my finger, and then now it's nice and smooth. So I'm going to get that with all the corners real quick. Now I'm going to spray it all off with some brake cleaner and then blow it off with the air compressor. And another thing I want to show you, right now it's spinning perfectly free. Both of them are nice and easily, no problems. The bearings are all spinning good here. Now I'm going to push down on these two surfaces as hard as I can with my finger and see if I can still spin this or not. So yeah, that one spins smooth, and that one spins smoothly. So I can put all of my weight on these two areas and still spin this around. So that's what convinces me that this cap is the bad part. So now that I have all of these areas kind of rounded off, I'm going to add some lube here. I'm going to torque this back down and see how it spins. Alright, right now with the cam cap on and no bolts in, it's not torqued. Both of them are spinning freely. I'll put my weight on here. I can still spin that one. And I can still spin that one. So I put my weight on both of them. I can still spin them both. So I'm going to put the bolts in here and see if anything changes. Always tighten them down according to the torque sequences. And I like to do them in stages. So I just get them finger tight at first. And I believe the manual calls for 9.8 Newton meters of torque. So I'll probably start with doing them all at 6, then doing them all at 8, and then going back through and doing them all again at 9.8. Okay, right now it's all just finger tight and they're both moving. Having a digital torque wrench has been a game changer for me. This is way better than them click types, at least in my opinion. So I'm going to set this at 6. Alright, I'm going to go through and torque them all down to 6. Alright, so they're all torqued down to 6 Newton meters. Alright, this one I can spin still, but there's a little bit of resistance. And there's 0 up and down play over here, and 0 up and down play. Yeah, there's no play at all. No play at all in here. And I can move it by hand, but it is pretty tight. I can feel a decent amount of resistance all the way through. But now it's moving. Before, even at 6, I couldn't move this at all. Oh, there we go. This side I cannot move. And the decompression lever is not touching at all. So if you're thinking maybe this decompression lever is catching on the bucket for the valves, it's not. It's not even touching. And I mean, even as hard as I can possibly try and spin this, I can't get it to budge. See if I can't get it to move at all. Oh yeah, I can move it with pliers, but that's really tough. And there's 0 play in this one as well. Yep, it's not moving at all. Just for fun, I'm going to tighten them all down to the torque spec and see if I can move them. They're all torqued down to the specification. Yep. Now I can barely move this one again. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's about as hard as I can possibly spin that to get it to move. Yeah, that one's no shot. See if I can move this one with pliers easier. Okay, so test number 1 did not work. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this back off and get back to the drawing board to figure out what I'm going to do next. I took these clips out that align the bearings here just to see if maybe these clips were binding up or something. I took the clips out, I torqued the bolts back down, put the cams back in, and this one's still pretty tight right here, and this one it still cannot move, so it is not the clips. Alright, so the next thing I think I want to try now involves some valve grinding compound, a Scotch-Brite pad, and removing all of the valves. So I'm going to go through, pull all these valves out one by one, label where they go with their shims and buckets, and then move on to my next idea. Nice, that valve looks good. So I built a little contraption to spin my cam over. I took a carriage bolt like this one and I ground this inside square off, and then I also ground off this roundness right here, which gave me something that looks like this. So there's no square edge right here, and this is flat now. And then this piece was a piece off of like a Ford or Chevy rocker arm, I believe. And I slid that up here. So how it's kind of rounds out right here fits perfectly how this cam goes in like that. And when they butt up, it centers this cam on the bolt. And then for this side, I have the same thing going into here, a washer, and then I tighten this nut down, and that gives me the ability to spin this whole cam by hooking this bolt up. I'm going to take some valve grinding compound and I'm going to put it around the cam right here. Now I'm going to take this cam, stick it in where it goes, and then put the cam cap on with the alignment piece installed. I'm going to put all the bolts in. I'm going to start with just hand tight. So now I'm going to see, yep, with that valve grinding compound in there, I cannot spin this right now. So I'll hook up some handy dandy vice grips, or the do-all pliers, if you will. I don't want to pinch too tight because I don't want to mess these threads up and then not get that bolt off. So now I'm going to take this and I'm just going to kind of work this bolt around and back and forth and let that grinding compound kind of do its work. Alright, now I've worked this around quite a bit. I'm I'm going to go ahead and torque all the bolts down to 6 Newton meters. Alright, now this is torqued down to 6. I'm going to keep working it around again. Okay, unfortunate news at 6, I cannot get this. Alright, I got them back to hand tight again, and I'm just going to work them around for probably 5 minutes. I've worked this around quite a bit. I can move it by hand right now, even with the valve grinding compound in there. What I'm going to do is take this off, clean it up, get all the grinding compound out of there, lube it up, stick it back in, and see what it looks like for now. My end result, I plan on taking some Scotch-Brite and Scotch-Briting everything and polishing it all up nice and smooth, but for now I'm just trying to get it to where everything can move. So I just got the cam cleaned off. It looks like the majority of my catching problem is all in one spot right here. None of these grooves you can catch your finger on or anything. It just kind of took the polish away. So you can see right there, this one little spot, that's where it's catching on that cam cap. But some Scotch-Brite should take all of this away, I'm hoping. If I rub it with Scotch-Brite long enough, should bring back that original shine. I gotta keep running some valve grinding compound in there until this seems a lot more uniform through here. But I gotta be careful not to take away too much material off of the head and the cam cap, so I gotta keep checking my up and down play every now and again to make sure that it's not getting all wobbled out. The cam cap itself is actually looking really good. It's totally smooth. It doesn't have that polished look, but like I said, a little Scotch-Brite will get that polish back. So that's looking really nice in here. I'm hoping this works out. If not, I had to buy a new head anyways. So I'm going to keep after it. I've already been into this project about 3 hours, so probably another 3 to 5 hours and I can start installing it back into the bike. Well, I'm not saying this is a pass or fail yet. This is definitely one of my dumber ideas that I've done, but I've got these 4 bolts torqued down to the factory specification right now, and it moves very easily. And then there is literally no play over here on this side. Like, I thought by doing this it would like wear this out really bad, but I mean, as far as feeling it with my hands, there's no play. I think I'm gonna get a dial indicator maybe tomorrow or something and stick it on there and see how much that dial indicator moves. But by hand I can't feel anything and I don't see any movement, so I'm not saying it's a failure yet, but that valve grinding compound is in here just everywhere. It's gonna take forever to clean this up, but for this side maybe it's gonna work. This was the easier side. This is gonna be the hard side to get done. I don't know what mechanism I'm gonna come up with for over here, since the exhaust cam has a bolt and it's not hollow all the way through like this one is. But I'm going to spend a lot more time working this and cleaning it up, and I'm going to say this side's looking pretty good. I just got to put the Scotch-Brite pad on it, get her polished up. Okay, current update on the head. I put valve grinding compound on the exhaust cam. I put it in here, mounted it up with the alignment clip, and I put the cam cap on. What I did was I kind of just put it on by hand like this. I didn't put the bolts in, and I put the valve grinding compound only right here, just a small amount, and I had to work it by hand until it started getting a little bit more free. And then once it started spinning more free, I put in the bolts, and then I wasn't able to torque these bolts down. I was just able to put them hand tight, like really loosely hand tight, not even cranking on them, kind of finger tight here. So once I got them all finger tight like that, I was able to spin this again. It probably took me, I don't know, 4 hours to complete this whole task the way I did it this time with the exhaust cam here. So once it started getting more free, just finger tight, I took it and cranked it as hard as I could, like this. You know, no torquing, just as hard as I could with an extension and a socket. And then now I worked it around for a long time until it got fairly free to move. And look, now I can move it by hand, and I don't even have any lube in there right now. So if I put some oil in there, this thing will spin real good. I'm going to torque these bolts down and check to see how much up and down play we have right here, which I can feel right now is pretty much nothing, but I'm going to check it anyways. The intake cam I might do a little bit more work with. I think this system I had is pretty unnecessary. I feel this was better, just slowly tightening it down and turning it by hand. After I got done with this one, I went and took the head and everything except for the cams. I took the head into the kitchen sink and just rinsed it off super good. Tried to get all of the valve grinding compound off of this head completely because it falls down in the crevices. And then came out, blew it out with air from the air hose, went back in. So I rinsed this thing 4 times and blew it out 4 times with air. I'm feeling pretty confident that there's no more valve grinding compound in here. So my next step, I'm going to touch this one up, the intake cam up a little bit more the way I did the exhaust cam. After I touch up the intake cam, I'm going to put the bolts in. I'm going to get a polishing wheel on my Dremel, and I'm going to polish up the seating surfaces for both the exhaust and the intake cam. After I polish those up, I'm going to take Scotch-Brite, polish up right here on both cams, and then I think it'll be ready for install. So now I'm going to take my Dremel with this little buffing pad, and I'm going to go in through here and then just buff out both cam journals. So I'll buff out this intake one, buff out this exhaust cam journal, and that way they're nice and shiny and smooth. And then I will rinse this off with water again, blow it out, make sure everything's clean again. I'll lube the cams back up, stick the cams in there. I'll check the play one more time with the dial indicator. I think the further this here project goes on, the less hopes I have of it actually working and lasting a long time. I think for sure the bike's gonna start up and run and it's gonna work. I just don't know how many hours I'm gonna be able to put on this head until it locks the cams up. But we're gonna figure out, stick it back together and run her till she blows. Alright, so this is the final product. After buffing it out, all I gotta do is clean it up, stick the cams back in, and I think it's ready to be installed. This intake side did get one decent scratch right here from that valve grinding compound. You can't catch your finger on it at all, but it is visible that there's a scratch there. On the head side, it turned out really good. This is the intake part of it. It buffed out really nice. This is the exhaust side, and that buffed out really nice as well. There's a few spots like this little dot right here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's one little dot right there, and that's from pinching the valve grinding compound into the cylinder head. So this is the best I'm going to be able to show it, but it's that little dot right there. And then also got some up here from when I torqued it down, but these shouldn't really matter. But I could not get rid of that dot from the valve grinding compound. So hopefully that doesn't mess it up. I'm going to take this in and rinse it all off again, spray it off a couple times. I do not recommend trying to do this fix. This is just for a test and me attempting to save $500. It may not even work. Put down in the comments if you think it's going to work or not, and if you do think it's going to work, how many hours do you think the bike is going to last? Now for the cams, I'm just going to take a strip of Scotch-Brite here, stick it on this mating surface where it mates with the cam journal, and I'm going to sit here and hold it and spin it by hand until the cam looks really nice and clean right here. I'm going to wiggle it and see how much play there is. So there's pretty much no play. I mean, just like a very, very small amount. So that should work out pretty good. Alright, I got all these torqued down to spec, and they are moving beautiful. Both cams are spinning. There's no play back here still. Even visually, there's no play. Can't feel any play. So I think I'm ready to put the valves back in with new valve seals. Make sure the valves are sealing good down at the head, and slap this baby in the bike. Alright, I got the valves installed back in, got the shims, got the buckets, cams are over here ready to be installed back into the bike. So like I've said it before, I do not recommend doing this at all. If I were to do it again, I think I would try to come up with a different way, because that valve grinding compound kind of left a few nicks in here, and there's little spots. There's little spots all over from those little rocks or whatever's in there getting pinched into the aluminum. My prediction is that this head is going to last 10 hours on the bike. So I'm going to say 10 hours on the bike. Just in case it lasts longer, I figure there's going to be a bunch of haters in the comments that probably are going to say, oh, the bike only lasts longer because Buddy put a different head on there and it's a fake video. Well, I drew a rocket ship on here, so this is the rocket ship head. So that's just in representation of all the haters down in the comments of this little experiment I'm doing. If it does mess up, I already had to get a new head anyways, so if it lasts 10 hours, sweet. If it lasts 100 hours, awesome. If it lasts 5 hours, I had to rebuild it no matter what. So if you like this video and you want to see the results here, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel so you can watch the video of me tearing this apart, putting it back together, and then hopefully eventually taking it for a test drive and then running it to see how long that head will last before it messes up. Currently we're at 19.5 hours with the bike torn apart.